So, I've been really happy with the Strange America crew and the episodes we've been making, so I decided to book them a nice little weekend getaway at a cottage that people have been visiting since 1912. It's a quaint little cottage built in 1867, and it has a rich history that brings people into this town every night. Let's check it out. I got a little surprise for you.
Welcome to Villisca, guys. Let me show you the axe murder house. Come on in. So this is the kitchen area. Not much happened here as far as the crime or as far as weird stuff that happens in the house. You had the bowl of bloody water by the back door where the guy washed his hands after he did all this. The mirrors all covered with sheets. There's half-eaten food left at the table, so whoever did this killed 8 people, 6 kids, 2 adults, made himself a meal afterwards. To kill 8 people with an axe and then eat. You know, a lot of the forensics guys will say they covered the mirrors because that's a sign of remorse. It's like, I don't buy that here because, I feel bad for what I did here. I better cover the mirrors. I can't look at myself. Man, am I hungry. The bacon was in this bedroom. But here, I mean, is the basic parlor room. Got family photos, whatnot. When Rossmore, well, Mary Peckham was the one that noticed right off the bat something was up that morning. And phone calls are made. She gets Rossmore down, who used his key on that door. He just lights a match, walks into this room, and sees 2 bodies under a sheet in the bed. He gets the authorities. They come back down. 2 deputies take one look in there, and they're like, we're gone. Like, we don't get paid enough for this. The axe was actually left propped against that door frame. The raw bacon was on the floor in that room, mirrors covered, you name it. So, as far as strange things happening, I mean, it seems like these 2 rooms are almost safe zones. Like, stuff happens, but not to the extent as upstairs, for sure. This room has a very, like, Amityville quality going. Like,
This room right here?
Yep.
So this room has like no real activity?
I mean, stuff happens. Like the other day, I was bringing a bunch of people in here, and this opened up and like flew off. It broke the bolt. I had to put a little screw in there. Fell on the carpet clear over there, and those people were out, like pushing each other out of the door. It's like, you want to come back in? We're like, nope. It's like, you want your money back? Nope. And there's a bunch of notes from previous overnighters up here. And it's all the same stuff. So-and-so got in a fight with so-and-so. It's like the house tried splitting the team up. And then that's where the dude shoved a knife through his chest in 2014.
What?
Oh, never mind. It was overnight, second time here. We get a lot of repeat people. He walks up, camo pants, hunting knife strapped to his leg, and it's like, it's kind of odd, you know. Whatever, have fun. He's like, I'm going to give the house a piece of my mind tonight. I'm like, cool, good luck with that. Wake up, I'm tagged in a million things on social media. Come over, the house is locked up. Keys in where I tell people to put the key. I call up Martha, who owns it. She didn't hear anything about it. She calls them. They said, yeah, it happened. He was life flighted to Creighton, Omaha. Died a couple times on the helicopter ride. Said he's going to be fine. We're saying nothing. We want all this to go away.
And evidence was it was all self-inflicted, right?
Yeah, he was sitting on that bed, took the knife, and just doesn't remember nothing. Said he was provoking in there and woke up in the emergency room. He ended up coming back down to the house years later, and right when we walked in, he apologized to the house. And his voice kind of cracked a little bit, you know, he was starting to get emotional. And right when he did that, I was just hit with like this charge of static something. Like it was an odd feeling. And it's like, man, job is getting weirder and weirder and weirder.
Yeah. Is this the family right here?
So you got Sarah, Herman, Catherine. Catherine was around 11 when this happened. They had 2 other kids, Paul and Boyd.
These are all the victims?
Yes.
Okay.
On that wall, you got JB, Sarah, Herman, Catherine again. So that's 3 of the 8. And that was many years before the murders happened.
Can you show us the Amityville room?
Yes.
So what do you call it this?
This is like the mental manipulation, you know. Amityville was very much a like getting into people's minds and like, you know, the whole George Lutz story of him ending up wanting to kill his family. And, but what's interesting about it, so Reverend Kelly was the only one who was ever tried for this. Yeah. His confession was, voices said, rise Peter, slay and eat. He ended up across the street, said a shadow came out of the backyard, gave him an axe, and told him to kill. Said he felt like he's being led beyond his own control. Ronald DeFeo, his very first confession, a shadow gave him the rifle, told him to kill, felt like he's being led beyond his own control. It's almost word for word, the same confession, you know, and then DeFeo's changed it a million times at this point, but that's why we call it the Amityville room.
This is the room they break you down,
Pretty
possibly to possess you for a split second.
Right, and I've been in this room, in this house in general before, to where just like, start feeling this like weird, like half drunk, buzzed feeling, just like not right. And then you go home and it's like an hour or two later and you kind of start snapping out of it. And it's like, ooh, okay.
So what should we do if we feel buzzed or like just get the fuck out of here for 10 minutes and
go get
try
a snack,
again?
go for a walk, go to the gas station, grab a burrito.
So there's 2 kids sleeping in the bed over here then?
2 in this bed. The raw bacon was on the floor right where the carpet is. The axe up against the wall. Mirrors covered with sheets.
Are there any blood stains? Like, is that a blood stain?
No, there were on, this is all wallpaper. There's wallpaper everywhere. Okay. And I had a lady who lived here. She was an elderly lady, and she lived here as a kid, and she remembers spots where the blood would like seep through on certain, I don't know if it's humidity or what, but I'd say 90% of everything I've ever had happen is upstairs for sure. I would always bounce around between this room, upstairs, this room, upstairs. Okay. Right on. I just seen a shadow 3 days ago in the attic. I was just up there cleaning and just right by me, right in front of me. And the windows were behind. It's like, oh, maybe a car drove by. I look out, it's like, you idiot. Car's not going to be shaped like a human. You know, one of the creepiest, a lady came, she wanted to take photos in the house. I'm like, cool, whatever. She breaks out like a tintype camera from the Civil War era. Taking photos, and I'm like, is that like an old Civil War camera? She's like, yeah. I go, man, I've always wanted my picture with one of those. She goes, got one tin left. So we go up in the attic, and I'm in front of the windows. They're behind me. I'm sitting in a chair, like trying to do my best gunslinger cool pose, you know, look tough. And she's got her light meter out. She's like, I don't think it's going to come, like there's no flash on the camera. She's like, it's too dark. It's not going to turn out, but it's already taking, so just sit there. Well, it did turn out. And in the photo, you see me sitting there and there's a lens flare in front of me from the windows behind. But behind me is a shadow. And the more I got to looking at it, first I just, my shadow. I was like, there's no light source from in front of me. It's behind. You can see the lens flare. So I got to looking at the shadow. The head's different. The shoulders are different. And it's like, is this the Kelly shadow giving him an axe? Like, I want nothing to do with that dude whatsoever. Like, slam a door, any of that stuff I'm fine with.
Were you like a believer before you started working here? How'd you end up with this job of all things?
Oh, geez. Back then, I was very much alien government conspiracy guy. Like, probably 6 months away from a tinfoil hat at that point. Very much into like cryptozoology, Loch Ness, Bigfoot, like the ghost stuff, kinda, not really. And I walk in to clean one day and I hear somebody walk across the upstairs, shut a dresser drawer, and I'm like, who's this? So I go up to go boot this dude out. Nobody's up there. And all my friends are doing the, oh, houses make noise. It's like, I'm not a 2-year-old. I know what a footstep is at this point in my life. So that's when I started staying the night, and I just had more experience upon experience upon experience. Seen it change so much. I started looking for patterns, birthdays, anniversaries, moon phases, storms, the eclipse, like anything. There's got to be a repeating pattern in this. I found nothing. Like, it just does it.
Have you noticed also no events like increase activity here, like full moon or?
No.
What about on June 9th, the actual day?
I've done 9 of the anniversaries by myself. 100-year anniversary, I'm sitting in that chair Text my buddy at about 10 p.m. like, yo, man, if you don't hear from me by morning, like, get my preacher down here, you know? I'm like, would be like floating or crawling up the wall. Yeah. Nothing happened. At one point, there's a lightning bug up there. I'm like, if you can hear me, flash once for yes, twice. It's like, I gotta get out of here. Nothing, not a weird noise, anything. And at that point, I left just because I'm wanting it too bad. Yeah. You know? I have seen one pattern in getting things to happen. Because it turned into me and my buddies in the barn. And it always was a dude dare to go sit upstairs for 20 minutes alone. Yeah. Well, then that progressed into putting a chair in front of the attic with the doors open where the killer probably hid. Yeah. Just exposed and vulnerable. Then tied to the chair, blindfolded, headphones on, playing static. So like all your senses are cut off. And every time we did that, stuff would start happening. And I think this place just feeds on fear. Like, I don't care who you are, it's scary to go do that when it's pitch dark in here. And I think it just looks for that and new people to mess with. And so if nothing's happening, send somebody up. Steel backbone challenge, sit in a chair.
Right up. Let's go upstairs. Can I ask you to open one of these windows? Halfway is beautiful.
I bet. I see some marks.
Yeah, so this is the parents' room. This is from the backswing of the axe. So he's hitting him with a blunt part. The blade's back as he's coming back like this. Yeah. Cutting in the ceiling, hitting the back of the wall.
Was the murder weapon left here?
Yeah, left downstairs.
Okay.
And it was the dad's axe. I mean, the killer didn't even bring a weapon. He just kind of walked around and said, oh, this will work.
I saw on another show that they kept it in a small store in town for a while.
They had it at City Hall.
Uh-huh.
And it disappeared one day, and I'm like, where'd the X go?
Huh.
Oh, so-and-so traded it to so-and-so for a box of chocolate-covered cherries. So basically, June 9th, 1912, the town had a church service. The Moores came home with Ina and Lena Stillinger. Mm-hmm. Mary Peckham, the neighbors, up at 4 a.m. doing her laundry. By 8:30, something's up. Mm-hmm. So she gets the relative who opens the door, finds Ina and Lena downstairs. The authorities come down, they find them. They come up here, I think Horton does, finds the entire Moore family. Everybody's in bed, just like they went to sleep. Nothing. The parents were here, mirrors covered, the axe mark in the wall behind from the backswing of the axe. And of course the big problem is by the time anyone gets here that knows what they're doing, half the town's just hanging out in the house. Mm-hmm. Like at one point the medical examiner's going, you get these people out of here? Yeah. And the sheriff's like, oh, as soon as I push them out the front, they're coming in the back. Yes. It's like, so the first detective from Leavenworth was drunk when he showed up. Yeah. That's where that starts. Mm. And they questioned people for 5 years. So, I mean, it was a what not to do in a situation like this. So much so that Iowa put in place an early version of DCI that would handle this instead of the local yokels like this. Trampling through. The attic where the killer hid is right through here. Ooh. Totally safe in there. There's nails through the ceiling, so don't impale yourself.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You want me to go in, or does somebody want to go in ahead of me?
We don't need to go in right
draw
now.
Straws?
Was there a baby here too that got...
5-year-old.
A 5-year-old, and they were in the crib, okay. That's messed up.
So, this was the kids' room where Herman, Paul, Boyd, and Catherine were all found. This ceiling had a big mark in the middle where it looked like he just took the axe and detective described it as like, it's going like this in a celebrating manner. Like in his frenzy, just waving the axe in circles.
Just hitting, gouging the ceiling.
One of the creepiest things I've ever had happen was in this room. As a Friday night, the overnight's canceled because of a blizzard. So I came over here about 10 p.m. to fix some stuff. And I locked the door in the kitchen so nobody'd walk in. I come up here and I'm trying to fix this bed. and somebody walks in the house, shuts the door, and I'm just like, in my mind, I'm going, we're not open, people. It's like, well, obviously they broke in, idiot. 10 p.m. So I'm listening to them walk around. It's like, they don't know I'm up here. This is going to be awesome. So I hide in the closet. Plan is to scare this kid. Just be like, why are you breaking in? If you want to see it, I'll just show it to you. Walking around, they finally start coming up. I'm trying not to die laughing, because it's going to be hilarious. So they walk into this room, I kick the door open, do the big scream. It's nothing at all. I couldn't even move. And I went to say hello, and it was just, like, I couldn't even talk. So I finally, it's like, are you just going to stand here all night? Like, move. So I checked the whole house. Door was locked, watched a surveillance video. There's nothing. So about 4 days later, I came back, just took one step in the kitchen. I'm like, got to work here. Leave me alone. I leave you alone. We got to have some boundaries. Like, screw the overnights. All you want. Fair game. Leave me out of this. Then I'm like, you need me here because I bring you sacrifices.
Yeah,
every night.
no kidding. Like, you think the ghost would treat you better?
Right. I'm bringing you guys, like, hey,
Yeah.
here you go, house.
Yeah.
Have at it.
If someone burnt this house to the ground, like, the ghost would have nothing to do. It'd be wandering. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's
I don't think the family's here whatsoever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think something was here before that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's no Villiscas anywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
Because it's not Villisca, it's Waliska, which in Meskwaki means evil spirit. I think... So Kelly said a shadow handed him the axe, told him to kill. Kelly's schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. A guy who lived here in the 60s didn't believe in ghosts. His family was telling him all this stuff. He's sharpening his knife with a sharpening stone. And they said he just went like that, snapped out of it, wrapped up his hand. They loaded their pickup, gone. 2014, guy shoves a knife through his chest. I'm seeing a pattern happening here.
Yeah.
I think something was here before this even happened. Mm-hmm. That if you're not fully mentally stable or rooted in whatever you believe in for protection, faith-wise, like it preys on that and goes after that. Because the stuff that happens here is not something a little kid from 1912 would do, assuming we keep the same personality in death as we do life.
Have you talked to anyone from the Meskwaki tribe about...
No. During all my overnights, I delved into that because I was like, I want to know what's here.
Yeah.
So I started with that. I taught myself enough Meskwaki to ask a few simple questions to see if that would elicit anything. I got on YouTube. I'm playing Sack and Fox, like ceremonial dance music.
Yeah.
See if that does anything. Nothing. But it'd be interesting to see, from their point of view, because that was just my little Cliff Note version of delving into it.
Yeah.
So, and I've never heard of ghosts being trapped in a house until Beetlejuice because of the sandworm.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to go that far, say a guy hangs himself on the 3rd story of this building and it's demolished. Is there now a ghost 40 foot in the air walking around? We all know now the cosmos is just expanding outwards because they're worried about the big rip in 150 billion years where it rips space, time, fabric, everything.
Yeah.
So really the Earth is not where it was 100 years ago. If you want to be that specific with the ghosts can't leave, I don't buy that whatsoever. And I had to open things like, if you can move ghosts on for whatever reason, come do it.
Yeah. And
we'd have shamans, Wiccans, Catholic priests, whatever. Didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It'd be quiet for like a day, then 10 times as worse.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's what's happening at all.
It definitely seems like something was here before then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started going through the old microfiche machine, and I thought, I'm going to look for weird deaths that's happened besides this one.
Yeah.
I didn't count hit by train or struck by lightning, because weirdly that happened a lot back then. I found where a woman burned to death quilting. That's some fast quilting, going on. Guys,
How close?
I'm not sure where she lived. I'd have to go, and that microfiche machine is long gone. A guy stabbed his wife in the town square, screaming she must die in German. Gustav Thiel was his name.
Yeah.
And that was before the murders here happened.
Was he a Mennonite?
I don't believe he's from German descent at all.
Whoa, okay,
Yeah, that's kind of the weird.
Yeah.
So,
Huh.
there used to be papier-mâché pig heads around town, like in the storefronts. And I asked Darwin, I was like, what's that all about? He's like, oh, Villisca wanted to be known as the pork capital of Iowa. That's why the giant pig is out by the Villisca sign coming into town. I go, or he said the women would make those to wear around. I go, like parades? Or he's like, no, just whenever. Like,
Getting a lot of Silent Hill vibes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the best part, our drugstore is called Stoner Drug, which I think is hilarious. Back then it was called Honeyman Drug, and they'd make their own cold elixirs. And they ran an ad in the paper for like a year. And I printed off like probably 200 sheets of this because I was like, nobody's going to believe me. All those are gone, but I do have a video on YouTube somewhere where I hold up a copy of it and you can see. It's like runny nose, blah, blah, blah. Take our new cold elixir. The name of it was 666. And it sounds like the biggest load of BS. I would not believe it.
Yeah.
But I can find that video and you can see right on there.
And what era was that? Was that 1900s?
But 1920s, 30s, somewhere
Okay.
around in there.
Okay.
I'd love to find a bottle. I mean, I wouldn't drink it, but that could be another challenge.
Yeah.
Do the chair challenge, then the 666 cold elixir challenge.
Yeah. Like,
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead, Dan.
So all the victims were in their beds still?
Just like they went to sleep. I've heard...
They weren't moved, like they weren't killed somewhere and then put back in their
Nope.
beds, so they
Nope.
never woke up during all of the bludgeoning, or no one left the bed?
Yeah, it was obvious to the coroner that they were killed in bed. There were no
Yeah.
drag marks or nothing.
Was there any like struggle downstairs? It seems like you would have like heard.
One of the Stillingers, they said, had a defensive wound on her arm where she went up to block. I say, how do we know she wasn't sleeping
Yeah.
like this? Because that's how I sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and they were just hitting the heads only.
So it seems demonic. Like, how do you not hear that shit?
How did Ronald DeFeo kill his whole family with a rifle and nobody heard anything, room to room?
Huh.
They say, oh, it's thundering. I'm sorry, but if you blast a rifle in a room, that's a lot different than thunder.
Huh.
You know?
Yeah.
So that goes back to the shadow.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying he did it, but that whole angle creeps me out bad. I want nothing to do with that. Nothing. Stay here, Shadow Man. Mess with these guys. Leave me out. You need me.
So gust of wind, or any movement on the dolls, or
Nah,
is it
there's-
just like a lot of.
There's nothing that should move anything.
Yeah.
And if you are looking at any EMF detectors or anything, there should be
Yeah.
no electromagnetic field.
Yeah.
We had electricians come measure the lines.
Yeah.
There's none leaking, and they said even if there was leaking, it'd be a baseline, kind of a constant. It wouldn't be here, then there, then there, then.
Yeah.
EVPs in this place are phenomenal.
The ghost got me. Okay, so I'm not really too much of a believer. I'm just kind of like dipping my toes in the water on like conspiracies, and I usually try to find like things that are more fun than harmful to investigate. I've only known about this house for about 6 years. I've shot what I like to refer to as numerous murder porns, like investigation, discovery, like the Jacob Wenninger case.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I've felt evil before, but I've not felt like a presence, like a ghost.
Yep.
But like you go to hollow ground and you just instantly feel it. Your stomach sinks to the bottom of your stomach. Haven't really got that yet. I feel like a lot of chills, which I've had from haunted houses before. But
honestly, like I've been in this place so many times that you can kind of tell the mood when you walk in.
yeah,
And like right now, it just feels like a boring grandma house,
Uh-huh.
but that changes usually throughout the night and stuff. Like I came up one Sunday, just get ready for day tours. I'm up here straightening up the beds. Walked to the end of the staircase. I stopped by the attic and just was hit with sadness. Like so much so I started tearing up.
yeah.
It's like, dude, it's Sunday on noon. Like, get a hold of yourself.
Pulling out a certain event in your life or something.
Well, I went outside, came back in, nothing. And there was one day I come in and it was horrible feeling in here. And I told Martha, I was like, it feels bad. She's like, what do you mean? It's like, never mind. So I'm downstairs giving my spiel. Done that a million times. I'm usually autopilot when I'm talking. And I was like stuttering and mumbling through it. And I kept getting a fight or flight feeling, like looking behind me. Some kid bails for the door halfway through. I go outside. Like 2 ladies come out in tears, like bawling because of the vibe in here. The whole parking lot was gone in 10 minutes. Everybody was gone. And usually I got to boot people out of here because they'll just sit here for hours and hours. So it was like everyone was feeling that vibe that day. So give it time. Hopefully, hopefully not, whatever. But it changes and it'll be in different spots and you'll just hit a spot and be like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
But I know, like, I'm a huge, like, true crime guy. So I've gone to serial killer houses, old prisons, insane asylums.
Sure.
And it's just like you walk into a room where someone had an argument, you feel that negative energy. These places had atom bombs of negative energy dropped on it. And it's just, that stuff lingers.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it just soaks into the ground and the fibers of the wood and everything. And I think that stuff lingers.
The houses around the neighborhood, though, have the neighbors, like, ever noticed things on their property, or?
So I live right next door.
Oh, okay.
And stuff happens over there. Like, my daughter was 3, started talking about Hattie. Hattie this, Hattie that. She wouldn't sleep upstairs because Hattie scares her. So I was like, who's Hattie?
Yeah.
She goes, that's the woman who lives upstairs. It's like, you're a creepy little kid, man. Years go by. She stops talking about Hattie. Have a son. I'm giving him a bath. He's like, bye, Dad. Bye, Grace. He goes, bye, Hattie. I'm like, what? He goes, bye, Hattie. He's 2 years old. He didn't know that story. Last year, a lady came for a day tour. She goes, I used to live in the house in the 80s. It's like, oh, that's where I live. She's showing me pictures of her in the house. It's like, yeah, that's cool. She's quiet for a long time. She goes, weird stuff happened there. I'm like, oh, yeah? She goes, yeah, but I had a name for the ghost. I want to say it started with an H. I go, Hattie? She's like, oh my gosh, that's it. So Mary Peckham died 6 months after the murders from a nervous breakdown.
Yes.
The house went to her adult daughter, Hattie Peckham.
Yeah.
Like, it all checks out.
Yeah.
And this is
Hattie
over...
Peckham. No relation.
This is over like a 13-year period
Yeah.
of my daughter saying it, then my son, then this lady coming to visit.
Sure.
And then I find it's all legit, historically accurate to a lady who... So I figure Hattie Peckham, well, she's 96 when she died. She lived in New York, married a couple times, didn't die in the house. So what I think's happening is she knew these kids. These kids used to play over there.
Yeah.
Mary's like a grandma to them. Probably just protecting my daughter, protecting my son, making sure this never happens again.
That makes sense. Where were the Cylingers in relation to this house?
About 4 miles straight out that way.
Oh, so they really weren't neighbors.
No.
Yeah.
Way out
Just
in the country.
friends in the... Yeah, okay. And this was more of like a country type neighborhood back then? I noticed you have a barn.
Yeah, outskirts of town. So you had this house, Mary's, the one across the street with a fence is where Margaret Landers lived. All this was just farm fields. So it's very edge of town.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I am kind of a little bit scared now, so we might get suited up, get some dinner, and check back in here after it gets a little... I was talking straight to you, America. Why'd you turn away? To notice the nervous guy? Do you want to go look at the nervous guy? All right. So, yeah, we're going to have some fun tonight. Bye!